This video was brought to you by Imprint. Today, the 2nd of May, is set to be a bumper election day, with thousands of council seats up for grabs, plus high-profile mayoral races, a by-election, and more all taking place on one day. It will likely also be the last chance for voters to express their views at the polling station before the next general election, and as such, it may be the last and best opportunity for anti-Rishi Sunak Conservative rebels to oust him. So, with the Conservatives forecast to suffer defeats at the polling station today, and with rumours about Tory rebels preparing to act, in this video we're going to take a look at the elections, explore the potential results, and what they might mean for Sunak's political future. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. So, let's start by taking a look at what people will actually be voting for on Thursday. Now, there are around 2,660 council seats being contested in England across 107 areas, with both the Conservatives and Labour defending just short of 1,000 seats each. Now, most of these seats were last fought over in the 2021 local elections, which took place in a very different context, as the Conservatives under Boris Johnson were riding high off the back of a vaccine rollout and managed to gain more than 200 council seats, while Labour lost more than 300. And this background makes today's elections all the more difficult for the Conservatives, as it now means they have a lot more seats to defend and a long way to potentially fall. There are also 10 direct mayoral elections, including London, Manchester, the North East, West Midlands and Tees Valley, with particular attention being paid to the West Midlands and Tees Valley, as they are the only two mayoralties being defended by Conservative incumbents. On top of this, there are also 37 police and crime commissioners up for election across England and Wales. And to top it off, there's also a by-election in Blackpool South, triggered by the resignation of Conservative MP Scott Benton amid a corruption scandal. So, what are some plausible outcomes for the Conservatives? Well, let's start with council seats. Well, according to local election experts Colin Rallings and Michael Thrasher, on a bad night, the Conservatives stand to lose up to 500 seats, just shy of half of the number they're defending. In this scenario, Labour might gain some 300, while the Lib Dems and Greens are also likely to make gains. Now, in most of the council elections, only about a third of seats are up for grabs, so there aren't many opportunities for overall council control to change. But some will be closely watched, like Dudley in the West Midlands and Hartlepool in County Durham, where Labour could take control from the Conservatives, as well as Brentwood in Essex and Wokingham in Berkshire, where the Conservatives could lose control to the Lib Dems. But the number of council seats lost will only form one part of the story. Potentially providing a more damaging narrative for the Conservatives are the mayoral elections. That's because Andy Street, West Midlands Mayor, and Ben Houchen, Tees Valley Mayor, both Conservative, are hoping that their personal appeal and local focus can secure them re-election despite their party's unpopularity at the national level. However, the West Midlands election is expected to be the closest, with a recent YouGov poll putting Andy Street just a couple of points ahead of his Labour challenger, within the margin of error, while other polls put Street narrowly behind. As for Ben Houchen in Tees Valley, a YouGov poll has him on 51%, 7 points ahead of his Labour rival, while Redfield Wilton puts them neck and neck on 47% each. And even if Houchen does secure re-election, it'll be by a much smaller margin than in 2021, when he won with an astonishing 72.8% of the vote. As for the by-election in Blackpool, it's widely expected to be won by Labour, as the Conservatives are defending a relatively small majority of 3,700 in what was a Labour seat before 2019. But while a Labour win is expected, the performance of Reform UK will be closely watched, as Reform coming in a strong third would be bad news for the Conservatives, while Reform underperforming could allay Conservative fears, as it might suggest that national polls are overestimating support for Reform. So what does Rishi Sunak's political future actually look like beyond these elections? Well, it obviously depends on the results. If it's a relatively good night for the Conservatives, emphasis on relatively, in which they maybe still lose hundreds of council seats, but enjoy victories for Andy Street and Ben Houchen, as well as picking up some of the brand new mayoralties, then this will provide some comfort to Rishi Sunak and the wider party, though it would still paint a bleak picture for the Tories ahead of the general election. On the other hand, a bad night, such as if both Street and Houchen lost, will only galvanise Conservative rebels seeking to oust and replace Sunak. And rumours are already abound that the rebels are on manoeuvres and preparing for that outcome. Now, the grand plan of these rebels, who reportedly include diehard supporters of Johnson and Truss, is to oust Rishi Sunak, presumably via a successful no-confidence vote or by undermining and pressuring him into resignation, and to replace him with a new, as yet undecided party leader, who would be coronated and then would lead a 100-day policy blitz that could turn around the party's electoral fortunes before the general election. They even have a 5-point plan that was released to the press that consists of so-called easy policy wins that include ending the junior doctors' pay dispute with a higher offer, announcing further measures aiming to cut migration, pledging to boost defense spending to 3% of GDP by 2027, toughening up sentencing laws for prolific offenders, and cutting government spending on benefits. Now, we'll leave it up to you to conclude whether or not these would actually help close Labour's 20-point lead, and instead we'll focus on whether the rebels could actually get to the point of implementing this plan. Because ultimately, the way we see it, Sunak will likely hold on and lead his party into the next election regardless. To trigger a no-confidence vote in Sunak, 52 Conservative MPs, equivalent to 15% of the parliamentary party, would need to submit letters of no confidence, which is a tall order, but not impossible if the results on Thursday are particularly bad. But when it comes to the actual vote of no confidence, Sunak would be widely expected to win. But even if he did win, this would still leave him wounded and leading an openly divided party in the lead up to a general election, which might be even worse. And potentially to head all of this off, there's been speculation that Sunak might name the election date or call an early one for July. In fact, he's repeatedly declined to rule out a July election, but commentators and the bookies still see an autumn election as the most likely course of events. Anyway, to wrap things up, if you're an eligible voter watching this on May 2nd and you still haven't voted yet, then go out there and vote. Turnout in last year's local election in England was a meagre 32%. So whoever you support, make sure that you go out there and cast your ballot. And of course, this time round, don't forget to bring your voter ID. Maintaining power in situations like this is crucial. In fact, you may want to think through what role power really has to play in society with Imprint's philosophy course. Study how Plato, Socrates, and Kant would think about the role power plays, and how people should use it in a moral fashion. Just like TLDR, Imprint is all about turning complex books and topics into something you can learn quickly, conveniently, and visually. It's super quick, with most lessons only taking about 2 minutes to complete, summarizing knowledge from all kinds of topics, using Harvard professors and best-selling authors to teach you the concepts. It's also convenient because it's all housed within their easy-to-use mobile app, letting you replace doom scrolling while you're waiting for your train or coffee with actual learning. It's also visual because, well, look at that app. If you've not used it before, then it's likely you've never seen anything quite like it. Unlike traditional books, their animated explainers help you stay focused, understand concepts quickly, and actually retain what you learn. So join the millions of users learning with Imprint, including me. I'm currently taking their course called How to Change Your Mind right now. And you can do that by clicking the link in the description. Plus, if you use that link, you'll get a 7-day free trial and 20% off an annual plan when you sign up. Plus, you'll know that they came from us. So check it out, support the channel, and thanks for watching TLDR.